All right, guys. So we have an update on sort of what we can expect from both the Fantastic Four as well as the X-Men in the upcoming future of the MCU. Now, I'm not going to lie. Uh, X-Men and Fantastic Four, I've never really been like massive fans of them traditionally. Like as a kid, I enjoyed actually, to be honest with you, the Fantastic Four movies. But they're not exactly the Dark Knight. I think we can all agree on that at the very least. And then, like as a teenager, I watched Fant Four Stick, and I was like, well, that was a movie, wasn't it? And then honestly, even growing up, I wasn't the biggest fan of the X-Men. Like I don't know, they just never really impacted me. It unironically was not until X-Men 97 that I grew to like love these characters. Like I really got attached to the X-Men with X-Men 97 specifically. So that one cartoon came out and completely like flipped my anticipation and flipped my interest on how the X-Men could potentially be adapted into the MCU moving forward. So yeah, let's read about what we can expect from these two franchises. So Kevin Feige, I guess, was at some kind of conference. There he is in his little Zoom call window. And it says here that Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige can hardly wait for the Fantastic Four's entry into the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the X-Men's future involvement. He says, finally, we're bringing Marvel's first family into the MCU, said Feige about the long-in-the-works project. They wrap next week, so Fantastic Four is wrapping filming next week, apparently. The movie comes out next summer, and then all those characters go right into the next Avengers movies. So I'm very excited for the future of the Fantastic Four. So that's our first little confirmation there. The Fantastic Four will be in both Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. I feel like we kind of could have predicted that, considering that Doom is for sure going to be in Avengers Doomsday and probably Avengers Secret Wars as well. It would have been weird, I feel like, if you're going to have Doctor Doom and not have the Fantastic Four involved as well. I think, honestly, at this point, the question is, does Robert Downey Jr. show up in the Fantastic Four movie? Like, is the Doctor Doom that we see in Avengers Doomsday going to be, like, related or maybe even come from the universe that the MCU Fantastic Four comes from? Because for people that don't know, the Fantastic Four movie is going to be a lot like Deadpool and Wolverine, where it doesn't take place in the Earth 616 universe, which is like the traditional MCU universe. It's going to take place in a different universe within the multiverse that's its own thing. And it's going to be this like retro futuristic universe where like everything feels like the 1960s but is also like futuristic. It honestly sounds like pretty intriguing. I'm actually very interested to see like a trailer for it and see what this universe feels like. And it's also just like, I feel like it's going to be really nice to watch an MCU movie that isn't like, that doesn't have so much of the lore and the history and to some extent the baggage of the MCU. Because when you're watching an MCU movie, it kind of has to like fit within what's like the 13 years worth of movies that we've gotten. Or Jesus, how many years is it? How many years of movies do we have? More like 16 years of movies. Jesus Christ. Yeah. I can do math. Like that's like, it's going to feel like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, right? Or the Nolan movies where it's going to be able to be its own movie. But then, I'm assuming Galactic is just going to like eat that universe. Like my guess is Fantastic Four is going to end and that universe is going to be wiped out. And then we're going to see the Fantastic Four step into Earth 616. So it'll just be interesting to see if Robert Downey Jr. is actually a part of the cast and that the Doctor Doom is from that universe. Maybe that universe gets destroyed and then Doctor Doom gets like inspired to become a multiversal sort of being or something. I don't know. I'm literally just yapping right now, but we'll see. I have no idea if any of that's true. So yeah, Kevin Feige is excited about it though. So there's that. And then he talked about Thunderbolts a bit. He says, Feige said that Thunderbolts, set to premiere in May 2025, is what Marvel is all about. The film stars the likes of Florence Pugh as Yelena Belova, Sebastian Stan as Bucky, Barnes, and David Harbour as Red Guardian, who form an anti-hero group who perform missions from the U.S. government. So I find this Thunderbolts mention just kind of interesting because, now, to be fair, we're not actually watching the showcase. This is like a summary by Deadline, but I'm just curious. Did Kevin Feige not talk about Captain America Brave New World? I mean, like, I feel like I got to bring that up because there's obviously been reports that Captain America Brave New World, like the original version of the movie, wasn't very good, so they had to go and reshoot the whole thing. And now there have been reports that there were reshoots of the new version of the movie, and the audience reception has not been, like, the test screenings have also not gone well. So I just find it interesting that there's no mention of Captain America Brave New World in this article, but there is a mention of Thunderbolts. And if I'm just being completely honest, I do think that the Thunderbolts trailer looks better than the Captain America Brave New World trailer. Like, if you just look at the footage, there are a lot of shots in Captain America Brave New World that I look at and I'm like, that's a reshoot. They're standing in front of a green screen. They're standing on a soundstage. This looks like a reshoot that they really didn't have enough time to really get the VFX looking really good. Whereas I look at Thunderbolts, and sorry, like, lack for a better like phrase, but Thunderbolts looks like a movie. It looks like a movie where like all the VFX is complete, the shots look good. So I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into this. Maybe Kevin Feige did mention Captain America Brave New World and Deadline just chose not to report on it. But I do have to wonder if, Marvel Studios and Kevin Feige specifically is maybe not all that confident in Captain America Brave New World. But we'll see. Okay, now he talks about the X-Men. On bringing the X-Men into the MCU, Feige said, I think you will see that continues in our next few movies with some X-Men players that you might recognize. Right after that, the whole story of Secret Wars really leads us into a new age of mutants and of the X-Men. Again, it's one of those dreams come true. We finally have the X-Men back. So this is actually a pretty big deal. So he says that our next few movies are going to have X-Men players involved. What does that mean? So, we obviously have Captain America Brave New World. We could see X-Men popping up in that movie. We could see X-Men popping up in Thunderbolts. We could see X-Men popping up in Fantastic Four potentially. We could also see X-Men popping up in what other movies are coming out that I'm not thinking of? My mind is blanking. What other movies are coming out before Secret Wars and Doomsday? I don't know, but like he's saying that X-Men are going to appear in these movies. Now who could they possibly be? I don't really have any idea. I mean, I could see like, in a Brave New World, like that's obviously like that is a movie that could potentially deal with political themes, right? Like, we could see the mention of mutants and maybe there's like a scene where Sam talks about like mutant rights or something like that. I mean, that's possible. And like, I don't know, like we could see a fucking Charles Xavier pop out of there and be like, hey guys, I'm here and I'm fighting for mutant rights. And we maybe see Sam Wilson take a stand with mutants or something like that. Like I could, Thunderbolts is kind of like a Suicide Squad-esque team. Like I wouldn't be shocked if maybe we saw like the government try and send the Thunderbolts out to kill mutants or capture mutants. Kill mutants might be a little too extreme for Marvel, but like capture mutants and imprison them, something like that. Like that could be a possibility. And let me actually mention, or let me verify something. Yeah, so he specifically mentions movies, but I assume that also means like Disney Plus shows. So, right, Daredevil. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if if we maybe see like Matt Murdock, maybe he does a few cases for maybe he represents some mutants, right? Actually, we see in the footage of Daredevil Born Again that that was revealed that there's an episode with Miss Marvel's dad. Miss Marvel is technically a mutant, right? Right? Like if you didn't watch the Miss Marvel show, at the end it's actually like straight up revealed that she's a mutant. And you hear like the X-Men the Animated Series theme playing in the background. So actually, we for sure Daredevil is going to deal with a mutant adjacent character. So we actually kind of know that. But like, maybe there's a mutant that pops up in Ironheart. So I guess at the end of the day, like we are going to see X-Men stuff. Like he's confirming that the next few movies will have X-Men related things. And then he's also confirming that Secret Wars will in some way lead to the X-Men, lead to a new age of mutants. That's an interesting thought because obviously like there have been like two theories as to how we could potentially see the mutants pop up in the MCU, right? Like you could go the route of them always having been there, right? Where like the mutants have always been here, but we've just never talked about it. Some people are like against that idea just because, it seems a little unlikely or unbelievable that, mutants have always been here, but, we've just never seen them. But I mean, like, they kind of did that with the Eternals, where they were like, yeah, we've just always been here. Yeah, we just didn't do anything when Thanos showed up. We just didn't want to. Or I forgot, they gave like a better reason, but I don't even really remember what it is. So, I mean, they've already done that in the past. So they could go that route, as unbelievable as it may be. The other sort of popular theory is that at the end of Avengers Secret Wars, that will be like an opportunity for the MCU to do like a soft reboot, right? Like the events of Secret Wars happens and the multiverse breaks or something, and then the new reality is formed where mutants are now like in the universe, like in the mainline MCU. That's also possible, right? And this line here kind of speaks to that, right? It says, right after that, the whole story of Secret Wars really leads us into a new age of mutants. I mean, that right there is very much like kind of hinting at, I feel like, the latter theory, right? That the multiverse is going to like break or something, and like a new reality is going to form, which just sort of like places the mutants into the mainline MCU. Honestly, I think that it's really hard to imagine how you do mutants, right? Because like either way, like if you're just going to say that the mutants have always been there, I think it makes it a little unbelievable, right? That we've never seen them before. But at the same time, just kind of doing a soft reboot feels a little like cheap to me, right? Because it's not like organically weaving them in. So at the end of the day, like I don't think either solution is perfect, but like I don't have a better one. I don't know, like neither of them sound like the most appealing, but I also don't have a better solution. So I mean, I'm not gonna be too nitpicky about it. Honestly, the main question surrounding the MCU is what do you do with Magneto? Because we have kind of got into the point that like Holocaust survivors are very old. And it's like, do you really like, how do you necessarily like make a modern day Magneto? I guess like the easy option is to just give Magneto like de-aging powers, but I don't know, like I personally think that it would be okay if they decided to make Magneto not a Holocaust survivor. Like, I kind of like the idea of Magneto being a part of an atrocity that is like more modern, right? Like have one that like relates, that is like accurate to like the time that we currently live in. So I don't know. Like I've heard people give suggestions that I honestly don't remember. Like, was it I've heard people suggest like the Rwandan genocide. That's a thing. Obviously, like I mean, if you, I don't think they'll do this, but I mean, you do have the option of like, like modern day conflicts, right? Like Ukraine and Russia. You have options with what's currently going on with Israel and Palestine. I mean, obviously those are very contentious, so maybe you don't want to go with something like that. But like at the end of the day, like in my opinion, right, the whole thing about Magneto is that he has to have like his perspective, his worldview has to come from having had to have suffer the worst that humanity has to offer, right? Which obviously plays into his worldview that humanity is not to be trusted and that mutants have to fight for themselves. So I think as long as you get that aspect of it, I'm kind of okay with it. That being said, I mean, just because like we're in such a weird age with with like the culture war and everything, I suspect that Marvel is probably going to keep him a Holocaust survivor. That's just my guess. But we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you think about any and all that we've talked about today. What do you think about Fantastic Four? Are you excited about it? How do you think they're going to handle that? And how like their like inclusion into the MCU? And do you think Robert Downey Jr. is going to be in it? What do you think about the thing that I noticed that this article just doesn't mention Captain America: Brave New World? Like that's the next MCU movie, to be clear. Do you think that's just that movie's kind of cooked? And what do you think about the X-Men? Like, how do you think they'll introduce them? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.